This is the Portfolio Coach Podcast, featuring Derek Davis, founder and CEO of Portfolio Coach. For more than 30 years, Derek and his wife Jennifer have been coaching their high net worth clients to financial prosperity.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Portfolio Coach Podcast. Glad to have you back with us today. Of course, Derek Davis is here from Portfolio Coach, CEO, and I'm looking forward to talking to Derek today about the topic of wealth. I want to jump right in today on this concept and talk about wealth. So I'm going to ask you to get started with an answer that's as broad as the question is. And as we go along, we'll define some things. We'll talk specifically more about definitions of wealth and what you do with wealth, et cetera. But what is wealth?
Yeah, well, wealth is defined differently by everybody. You know, to me, wealth is health, families, friends. It probably has less to do with things or how many zeros I have in my bank account. Wealth is much broader. You know, you're not gonna. They always say you can't hook up a U-Haul to your Hertz. When they're burying you. So, it's giving back, sleeping well at night. I mean, for us and our clients, that's extremely important. They don't want to live paycheck to paycheck or wonder where their next dollar is going to come from. The key to that is just spending less than you make, and saving and really what you're doing here with Portfolio Coach or in our wealth management division is, we're trying to protect you to the downside, give you some balance in your life so that you don't have to spend the 40 to 60 hours a week, our analysts do and I do, working through the portfolios. You can get out there and enjoy your kids and your family and your friends and have a balanced life. So I think wealth is defined as, a balance, it's probably a 12-legged stool. Right. And every little leg is important. If one fell out, it would wobble a little. So you just try to find that balance in wealth. Now, wealth is money is certainly different. Money is defined, as a one of those legs of the stool. And the more money you have, to a point, makes perhaps the other parts of your life go more smoothly, but you can actually have too much money and it creates more havoc on more stress on the other legs of the stool. So
okay, so I'm gonna wear my cynic's hat for just a minute, and I want to dive into a particular segment of that. It feels like it's easy for wealthy people to say it's your health, it's your family, it's balance in time spent. It seems really easy for people who have wealth to say that. And for people who are working on building their wealth, maybe they're at the very starting blocks. It's like, okay, maybe I aspire to be there, or maybe I'm thinking to myself, yeah, easy for you to say because you're loaded. You got all kinds of money. You can do whatever you want. Of course you can talk about your health. So to use health in a different way. Bless you.
Thank you. Sorry.
On your way up and on your client's way up to being able to comfortably say that because that is life for you, what were the decisions that you made? And I think you alluded to it in some of the things that you said, but I'll draw that out of you a little bit more. What are some of the decisions that you made along the way that have gotten you to this point in your life that you can not only live that reality, but also advise clients on how to live that reality?
Yeah. So personally, my wife and I come from very giving families. So that probably created a nice base to start from. And then we just learned to take, even the giving attributes and really apply it to our lives. We adopted 2 boys. Everybody adopts babies. but are you really, saving a life if you're adopting babies? No, there's a huge waiting list to adopt babies. So you're not really saving a life. We adopted a 5-year-old and a 10-year-old. Well, the 5-year-old and 10-year-old probably have family in America that they could go live with. And so are you really saving a life? I don't know. So we adopted a 5 and 10-year-old from Vladivostok, Russia. We know we saved 2 lives. Our youngest son is now 25. We adopted him 20 years ago, and he loves golf. The nearest golf course to him in Vladivostok was 6 time zones away. In Moscow, they happen to have a course, and they have 2 courses in St. Petersburg. But within the country of Moscow, he would have never found golf, and he found his passion because we made the financial commitment and the emotional commitment and even a career commitment. I sold my first set of companies so that I could be a stay-at-home dad and teach them English. And we had to move out of Palo Alto because we sold our companies and we moved up to Southern Oregon where we could live off of one income. That income happened to be my wife's income. But so that's the giving persona that we want to have. And at the end of the day, we just want to touch as many lives positively as we can. And that's why, in my wife's wealth management division, she has $1 million minimum. So if you have $1 million, you don't need a lot of help getting there. You might need to grow it a little bit and protect it. And she's good at that, but she only had, she's helping 40 different families. With Portfolio Coach, we feel like we can help, 10,000 families, 100,000 families, at least, get them on the right track so that then they can have enough that when they go to see a financial advisor, the financial advisor will care about them. But you're going to have to, with Portfolio Coach, you're going to have to put in the effort. We'll give you all the knowledge we have, but you're going to have to do the trade yourself. So I don't know if that answers your questions, but to us, that's how we kind of started and moved, and we're old. It takes time. I'm 60. I can't have millions of dollars in the stock market and millions of dollars in real estate in my 20s. I hate debt. And so it takes a long time to get up there. And it takes consistent returns, and you just got to put away, our youngest son, again, he puts 10% every month into his 401k, and he puts 10% into an investment account. And he started that when he graduated in 2020, so a couple years ago. And he's not rich. He has a few, maybe $10,000, $15,000, but it's going to take time for that to grow. But if he continues to make that commitment in living below what he's making, that by the time he's 50, 60, 70, he'll be very comfortable, and he will be a wealthy man because of his health and his friends and his family, and he'll have a roof over his head. And so it's that, I guess it's that financial plan and that commitment you got to kind of make.
So, excuse me if this is too personal. First of all, thank you for sharing.
Oh no,
nothing's
too personal. I mean, we're easy.
I think that's important to know. We grow up in we're in a pretty prosperous society here in the U.S.
America's
particularly.
amazing.
And it's easy for a teenager to see how their parents live in their 40s, maybe 50s, and to think that that's the way life is when you start, and to forget that there's a lot of dues paid to get there. Right. And I think sharing the insight there of that your mission, your purpose in life superseded your wealth creation. And I tend to believe that what goes around comes around. Perhaps that's a statement on karma. I don't know, but I believe that what goes around comes around. And by giving, you guys have been blessed with some prosperity. And so to ask an interesting question here, you obviously have some wealth, and we're not going to ask you what your number is, but you've got two children, and you mentioned that one of your children is building his own wealth portfolio from the ground up. we know that famously Warren Buffett was very, very slight in what he left to his heirs. And his intention was that of helping them to ostensibly to develop their own system of wealth creation and self-reliance and independence. Is that what is at the heart of your methodology for having your children have to grow their way up similar to the way you did? What tell us about that?
It is, but you have to kind of jump forward and understand that I'm going to live to 90. So that's going to make my son, 55 and 60. They don't need help with the rungs of the ladder as much as my grandkids would or my great grandkids would. So we're not necessarily going to skip a generation, but most of the support is going to be given through education at a younger age for our grandkids and our great grandkids, which we don't have yet. But sometimes you just need a help, a lift up the first couple, stairs or the first couple rungs of the ladder of life, and then you can do better. And so much is crucial when you're in your 20s, and then 30s you start having kids. 40s you're so busy working, and that's when you make it. A lot of your income is your 40s and 50s before it kind of rolls back around. So for us personally, we will probably leave our kids, more of the things we have. Whether it's the house on the golf course for our son that loves golf, or our house in Mexico for our son that has his own company and never vacations because he needs to find that balance. But he would rather work 80 hours a week because he came from the streets of Russia, right? Because he was 10. And so he's seen the other side, and he's always afraid of where's my next meal going to come from. And so because of his instilled belief before we adopted him, he is all about just working and saving. And if anybody has money for a rainy day, it's our older son. So they need a little bit of help, but we gave them help through education, so they had no debt. Our youngest son, we gifted him half a car when he turned 21 and the other half when he graduated college. So he has no car payment. Now he has to pay insurance, and he just bought his first house up outside of Salt Lake in Utah. And it was $150,000. He put 5% down because he was a first-time homeowner, and he's so excited about that. And that's kind of, you got to start life as early as you can. And life is a combination of friends, family, always care about those people. But if you can be a giver, for a long time, my wife and I had a lot of friends that were really good at taking, and we were really good at giving, and it made us feel good to give. But then we noticed that this person always just took. And so we kind of, eliminated those people from our lives. Now, our friends are more people similar to us, which is what you end up with, friends, and everybody's very giving. When we go out to the, to the restaurant, we don't have a bunch of alligator arms that aren't reaching for the check. Now everybody's reaching for the check, and we end up splitting it, and it works out well. But, it used to be some of our friends would, head to the bathroom and as soon as the check came and we'd get paid, and it was fine, but it just gets a little old after a while, I guess. So.
Yeah, well, thanks for sharing that. Those aren't things that people are too often generous with, understanding what was the pathway. And I think it's interesting is that the way that you metered out your giving so that next generation of Davises could develop some self-reliance and have a vision for themselves. I think that's a really critical thing. And I think in a way you're doing that with Portfolio Coach. And ultimately, it would be great if everybody became Sky Oak clients, because you guys are amazing at what you do, and you have a track record that's Jennifer's business over there at Sky Oak is really great. But this Portfolio Coach methodology is really for everybody. whether you've got $2,000 to start with, you've got $10,000 to start with, you have access to wealth growth, or even preservation. You mentioned when we talk a lot in our episodes about managing the downside as well as working to increase the upside. I think those are important. Talk to me for a minute here. Let's talk to the audience a little about stages of wealth creation and the strategies associated with them. And for simplicity's sake, let's break it down to three stages. You mentioned the 40s and 50s. That's when you're going to earn your most income. So that let's bracket that one as one, and let's bracket, let's say, post college. So somewhere in the early 20s to early to mid 30s, let's say. And that'll catch a wide range from an undergrad to a surgeon or a PhD of some sort. And then on the other side is let's take that mid 50s and beyond, maybe 60s and beyond, and let's talk about wealth management, wealth creation in those brackets, and let's talk about it in the context of let's talk about it in the context of not the ultra wealthy, not the extremely wealthy, maybe not even the wealthy. Let's talk about those who are at those stages and strategies that they could employ now to set themselves up for whenever retirement or whenever the end of their peak earning years comes along. And let's start, just because it's simpler, let's start down at that, like, senior in college. Maybe I'm in my first year of grad school, or maybe I'm just in my residency if I'm a doctor. Maybe I'm as a clerk after law school, just somewhere in that range. Like, let's talk about decisions that can be made now. Behavior, let's break it down into two things: decisions and behaviors.
And one leads to the other. So let's break it down to 20 to 40, 40 to 60, 60 to 80 or whatnot. So 20 to 40 is actually the most important segment there is. You're establishing your behaviors from your decisions. My son made a decision. He loves golf, right? And I mean, loves golf. But it's not as big a piece of his budget as he wishes it was. And he wishes that 20% he was putting into investing in savings through his 401k and through the investing through Portfolio Coach was, part of his golf budget. But he made a decision to, forego playing golf all the time in order to save money. And so that decision then therefore changed his behavior, and his behavior became, hey, I'm going to golf twice a week instead of 5 times a week. And, so it leads that way. But the reason that first group at 20 to 40 is so important is you're really setting yourself up. If you are a person that wants things, there's certainly ways to get it, whether it's the new buy now, pay later, that gets you a thing, and you don't have to pay anything now, but you're going to have to pay later. Credit cards, you can get one of those easily enough with it, pretty much just a signature, and you can go buy more things. But the decisions you make wanting less things or needing less things and making that behavior choice of doing without as much certainly will set you up for success in your 40s to 60s and your 60s to 80s. So that's the most important time, and money, doubles, we'll say in Portfolio Coach every 5 to 7 years. And if you were in the stock market, maybe every 10 years. And so that makes a big difference too. We can take that $1 and make it 2, and then make it 4, and then make it 8. Plus, if you make that $1 $2 because you're putting in an extra $1 a month, now all of a sudden that 2 becomes 4, 5 years sooner. And if you add another group of money, it becomes even sooner. So it takes time and returns, but that first group is going to set you up for behavior and how you live. You know, are you somebody that wants to be a world traveler? And if you do and you want to be a world traveler in your 20s, you're probably not going to travel too far. You know, Mexico and Canada is about as far as you're going to get. But if you can put that off, you know, and maybe it's 20, 30 years. And that sounds like forever when you're in your 20s. You know,
Yeah.
you're never going to be 50 or 60. But man, life, it speeds up really fast. I never thought I would be 60 when I was in my 20s. But you know, now
I'm in group 2 and I'm staring down the barrel of 50 here before too
Yeah.
long, right? I mean, I'm mid 40s and it's like, well, 50 is pretty young. You know,
right? No, it's
50 is not
yeah.
as old as I thought it was. And to your point, we're able to do things now. We're traveling. You know, we're able to go spend time traveling to places we've never traveled before, and a lot of
Yeah,
that.
when I turned 60, I decided it was the new 40. So, you know, it's
Yeah.
all mental. And when I get out of bed, I'm going to have an amazing day. And if it isn't amazing, then it's still great because it slides down just a little bit. And you know, hopefully I learn something and hopefully I help somebody. Those are kind of my goals every time I wake up. And you know, hopefully I know I'm on the back nine of life. I just hope I'm, you know, teeing off on 11 and not putting out on 17. You know,
Yeah,
and
you're on 10.
that, but
Yeah, you're on.
that's
10.
right.
You're
I just
on
made
10.
the turn. I'm at the snack shack.
Yeah, you just finished with that turn with a hot dog and a Snickers and
And a beer. Yeah.
Coke or a beer or
I need
whatever.
some
And you're
swing lube
on
because
your
the
way.
front line didn't go.
Yeah. Well, let's just shift now.
Yeah.
That second grouping. What's your advice or what's your thinking when you think about peak earning years? You know, peak earning years usually come with college age kids, and that's expensive. What's the mindset shift that needs to happen in that time frame? And how could I utilize the coaching from Portfolio Coach to, all things considered, sending my kids to college, buying cars for them, paying for their insurance, all that stuff, aggressively build my wealth in that time window?
You know, if you followed if your decisions were what I would say long term, and your behaviors were long term, and it develops your behaviors, which develops habits in your 20s to 40s. When you're 40 to 60, if you're still investing that 20%, you know you've won, because now you're making more, so you're investing more. And so now we can work out a financial plan for you that we can, you know, college, you know, for our youngest son was about $120,000. He got golf scholarships and academic scholarships, and that helps, but damn, college is expensive. You know, and it's going to eat up that money. You know, kids are expensive. You know, when we decided to adopt, we, you know, what are they, $250,000 they say now, you know, to have a kid. And so if you have, you know, we adopted a couple, we gave up $500,000. You know, but now we have somebody that we care about and love, and we feel like we've saved their life. So, but moving on to 40s to 60s, you know, if your behaviors, you can stick to that same, invest, you know, 10% in your 401k if you're with a company like that, or invest the other 10% into an investment vehicle. You've probably grown it at this point. You can probably have a financial advisor, or at least you can do a financial plan in your 40s, because now Portfolio Coach is, you know, maybe your $1,000 a year has grown to, you know, $20,000 a year, because now you're making $100,000 a year, and you're putting in that 20%. And then in your 50s, you're making, you know, 200 grand a year, and you're putting in 40 a year. And all of a sudden it really snowballs quickly. It's that, you know, compound interest. There's nothing better. And the key is to, you know, we want to get that interest return level up as high as possible. You know, something in the low teens would be great, or double digits is great, because the market's going to probably give you your, you know, historically your 7%. So
I heard two things in there that I think I want to maybe have you add some emphasis to right before we end. And we'll pick up the 60s and beyond next time on the next podcast. So one is you sort of implied there to keep your investment at about the same rate, 10%, and to start looking for a financial advisor at that point.
Yeah.
So those are two really key differentiators there. So Portfolio Coach might be my pathway to setting myself up to where I need an investment advisor to really expand that 10%, which is exponentially larger in real dollars than what it was when I was 25 and just graduated from grad school, and really start to apply some of those, best practices, lessons learned, and get an investment advisor to take me to the next level. So
I may have misspoke a little bit there. Most investment advisors out there aren't going to get you the returns Portfolio Coach does. What you need to do in your 40s is get a financial plan, and it'll cost you $1,000, $1,500, maybe $2,000. Tell them you have 2.2 kids are going to go to college. You'd like to do this, and they can put together a financial plan for you. But Portfolio Coach has historically done much better than financial advisors out there. But you do need to get a financial plan. So, and there's lots of CFPs, certified financial planners are great. They're fiduciaries, so they're always going to do what's best for you, and then pay for that financial plan. You don't necessarily need to still pay that 1% or more on your assets being managed, because you can still manage those assets through Portfolio Coach and do the trading and stuff like that. Once you get to, it's going to take, I'd say $250,000, $300,000 in order for it to make sense to have a financial advisor. To do a financial plan, you can, you can have 50,000, 100,000, 150,000. We're doing financial plans right now for kids that are just getting out of college that just have a lot of foresight in what they're going to try to accomplish. So we started doing financial plans for them, and the first thing they got to do is how to pay off their college debt, right? But the sooner you pay it off, the sooner you can start saving for the future. And we have some clients, they have tens of millions of dollars and they have a mortgage on their house. Why would you have a mortgage on your house? Well, because they're getting 10% on that money that they have, and they're only having to pay it out at 2.8%. So they're getting that, but the financial planner can help you understand that 7.2%, delta is huge, and it makes a big difference. So they pay off their house as slow as they possibly can.
Well, maybe that's a topic for another day. The idea, the understanding of compounding interest and how to not be a slave to it.
Yeah, no, it makes a big difference.
Yeah, well, let's wrap it here. Awesome session, incredible insights for today. And next time we'll talk a little bit more about maybe safer growth or wealth preservation on the next one, and talk about how anybody can benefit from utilizing these strategies and these concepts. And maybe we'll talk about the house down in Mexico and how that nice beard's coming along.
Yeah, hopefully it's looking better. I don't know.
It looks pretty good.
At 60, I could grow a beard, but it's not filling in very good right now. Plus, it's white, so that doesn't help me much.
No, that shows that you're seasoned, right? It gives you this air of
seasoned.
Yeah. All right, Derek. We'll talk soon. All right, guys, check in next time on the podcast, and we'll see you then.
Have a great day. Take care. Bye-bye.
Hey, bye.
Visit get.portfoliocoach.com to get 90 days of gold subscription for free.